The snow fell heavily that Christmas Eve, blanketing the streets of Colorado in a serene white. But inside Ethan Carter's Chicago apartment, the atmosphere was anything but calm. Ethan, a 28-year-old software engineer, paced back and forth while his girlfriend, Sophia Blake, sat cross-legged on the couch, holding a steaming cup of cocoa. "You're sure about this, Ethan?" Sophia asked, her voice calm but her eyes betraying her nerves. Ethan stopped pacing and turned to her, his face a mixture of determination and unease. "Sophia, my dad and Emma are gonna love you. My mom, well, she'll come around. She just needs time." Sophia raised an eyebrow. "Time? Or an intervention?" Ethan chuckled nervously, but the weight of her words hung in the air. Margaret Carter was known for her sharp tongue and her rigid views. And Sophia, a 26-year-old civil rights lawyer, wasn't exactly the kind of woman Margaret would have imagined for her only son. But this Christmas was supposed to be special. It was the first time Ethan would bring Sophia home to meet his family, and he was determined to make it work. The drive to his family's house in Evergreen, Colorado, was long and quiet. Sophia spent most of the trip staring out the window, lost in thought. She'd dealt with difficult people before, but this felt different. This wasn't a courtroom. This was Ethan's family. As they pulled into the driveway, Sophia took a deep breath. The house was stunning, with warm Christmas lights twinkling against the snow-covered roof. The scent of pine and roasted chestnuts wafted through the air. For a brief moment, Sophia allowed herself to believe that everything would be okay. Margaret Carter greeted them at the door. "Christopher," she said, her voice cold and clipped, using the formal name Ethan despised. Her eyes then landed on Sophia. "And you must be." "Sophia." Sophia extended her hand with a bright smile. "It's lovely to meet you, Mrs. Carter." Margaret's icy blue eyes flicked to Sophia's hand, then back to her face, as if assessing every detail. "Well, come in. The snow's not going to stop just because you're standing on the porch." Ethan shot his mother a warning look, but Margaret pretended not to notice. Inside, the warmth of the fireplace was a stark contrast to Margaret's demeanor. Ethan's father, Michael, was jovial and welcoming, pulling Sophia into a hearty embrace. Emma, Ethan's younger sister, was all smiles and immediately started chatting with Sophia about law school and fashion. For a moment, things felt normal. That was until dinner. Margaret's subtle jab started early. "Sophia, dear," she said sweetly during appetizers, "do your parents celebrate Christmas? Or is it not really a thing in your community?" Sophia's smile tightened, but her voice remained steady. "Christmas is a big tradition in my family. My mom makes the best gingerbread cookies you'll ever taste." "How quaint," Margaret replied, her tone dripping with condescension. Ethan's grip on his fork tightened. "Mom," he said firmly, "cut it out." Margaret's eyes widened in mock surprise. "Cut what out?" "Righty. I'm just making conversation." But the real drama began after dinner. As the family gathered around the fireplace, Margaret brought out a box of old photo albums. "Oh, look at this," she said, pulling out a faded photo. This was Ethan's first Christmas. "Such a precious boy." She glanced at Sophia. "Of course. Back then, we didn't have to worry about certain influences." Sophia's jaw clenched. "Mrs. Carter, I'm not sure what you mean." Margaret leaned forward, her voice low but sharp. "I mean, Christopher was raised to be part of a certain kind of family, and not everyone understands that." The room fell silent. Michael and Emma looked horrified, while Ethan shot to his feet. "Mom, that's enough." Before Margaret could respond, a loud crack of thunder echoed through the room. The power went out, plunging the house into darkness. For a moment, no one moved. Then, Margaret's voice broke the silence. "I guess the storm has decided to be as disruptive as this evening." Sophia stood, her calm demeanor finally cracking. "You know what, Mrs. Carter? You don't have to worry about me disrupting your perfect little world, because I'm done trying to impress someone who clearly doesn't care." Ethan grabbed Sophia's hand. We're leaving." As they stepped outside into the raging snowstorm, Ethan turned to Sophia. "I'm sorry. I should have done more to protect you." Sophia looked at him, her eyes filled with both frustration and love. "Ethan, this isn't just about me. It's about what you're willing to stand for." And with that, they drove off into the storm, leaving behind a house full of unresolved tensions and a family that would never be the same. Wow, what a way to start Christmas, right? Do you think Ethan made the right decision, or should he have handled things differently? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. And if you're enjoying the story so far, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Heat Stories. Tell us where you're watching from. We'd love to know. The drive back to their Chicago apartment was silent, the only sound coming from the rhythmic thump of the windshield wipers battling the snowstorm. Ethan gripped the steering wheel tightly, his knuckles white. Sophia stared out the window, the glow of passing streetlights casting fleeting shadows across her face. "I shouldn't have brought you there," Ethan finally said, breaking the heavy silence. Sophia turned to him, her expression unreadable. "Ethan, your mom's behavior isn't your fault, but you can't keep excusing it either." Ethan sighed deeply, his shoulders sagging. "I thought maybe this time would be different. I thought she'd see how incredible you are." Sophia reached over, placing a hand on his arm. "Ethan, I don't need her approval, but I do need to know that you'll stand by me, really stand by me, when things get hard." Ethan nodded, his jaw set with determination. "I will. I promise." Back at their apartment, the storm outside raged on, mirroring the turmoil in their hearts. Sophia settled into bed, but Ethan stayed up, staring out the window at the swirling snow. His thoughts were a chaotic mix of guilt, anger, and frustration. The next morning, the phone rang. It was Michael. "Ethan." His father's warm, familiar voice came through the line. "I just wanted to check in. Are you and Sophia okay?" "We're fine, Dad," Ethan replied, though his tone was strained. Michael hesitated before continuing. "Look, son, I'm sorry about what happened last night. Your mother, well, she's always been set in her ways. But I'm proud of you for standing up for Sophia." "Thanks, Dad," Ethan said, his voice softening. "But I can't keep letting her get away with this." "I understand," Michael said. "Just know that Emma and I are on your side." As Ethan hung up, he felt a small sense of relief. But it wasn't enough to erase the tension still hanging over him. Meanwhile, Sophia went about her day with quiet determination. But inside, she was struggling. Margaret's words had cut deep, bringing back memories of past encounters with prejudice and bigotry. Later that afternoon, Ethan found Sophia in the living room, surrounded by her laptop and a pile of legal documents. "Work?" he asked, sitting down beside her. "Trying to distract myself," she admitted with a faint smile. "But it's not really working." Ethan took her hand. "I've been thinking. Maybe we shouldn't go back for Christmas dinner tomorrow." Sophia hesitated, her eyes searching his. "Do you think avoiding it will solve anything?" "No," Ethan admitted. "But I don't want you to go through that again." Sophia leaned back, her expression thoughtful. "Maybe this isn't just about me. Maybe your mom needs to be confronted, really confronted, about her behavior. If we don't, nothing will ever change." Ethan nodded slowly, realizing she was right. "Okay, we'll go. But if she steps out of line, we're leaving. No second chances." When they arrived at the Carter family home the next evening, the tension was palpable. Margaret greeted them at the door with her usual tight smile, but there was a flicker of unease in her eyes. "Christopher, Sophia," she said, stepping aside to let them in. Sophia responded with a polite nod, her demeanor calm but resolute. As the family gathered in the living room, the atmosphere was heavy. Michael tried to lighten the mood with jokes, and Emma chatted excitedly about her plans for the new year. But Margaret's icy demeanor loomed over the evening. Dinner was served in the formal dining room, the table adorned with an elaborate spread of holiday dishes. But as the meal progressed, Margaret couldn't resist her usual jabs. "So, Sophia," she began, her voice saccharine sweet, "how's the world of civil rights law? Must be exhausting fighting for every little thing." Sophia met her gaze head-on. "It can be challenging, but it's also incredibly rewarding to make a difference in people's lives." Margaret smirked, taking a sip of her wine. "How noble of you." Ethan's fork clattered onto his plate. "Mom, enough. We're here to enjoy Christmas, not to endure your passive-aggressive commentary." Michael cleared his throat, trying to diffuse the situation. "Let's all just focus on the holiday spirit, shall we?" But Margaret wasn't finished. As dessert was being served, she leaned back in her chair, her eyes narrowing at Sophia. "You know," she began, her tone dangerously casual, "Christopher had a wonderful opportunity to move to San Francisco last year, a promotion at work, but he turned it down. All for a relationship." Ethan's eyes widened in disbelief. "Mom, that's not your business to share." Margaret shrugged. "I'm just saying, some sacrifices aren't worth it." The room went silent. Sophia's face was calm, but her eyes burned with anger. "Mrs. Carter," she said, her voice steady but firm, "if you think love and loyalty are sacrifices, then I feel sorry for you." Ethan stood abruptly. "We're done here." As he helped Sophia to her feet, Margaret's voice rang out. "Christopher, don't you dare walk out on this family." Ethan turned to face her, his expression resolute. "This isn't about family, Mom. It's about respect. And until you can show that to Sophia and me, we're done." He and Sophia walked out, leaving Margaret stunned and speechless. Back at their apartment, Ethan and Sophia sat on the couch, exhausted but united. "Do you think she'll ever change?" Sophia asked softly. Ethan pulled her close, his voice filled with quiet determination. "If she doesn't, it's her loss. We have each other, and that's what matters." The storm outside had calmed, but inside their hearts, the fire of resilience burned stronger than ever. The morning after their dramatic departure, Ethan and Sophia woke up to a quiet apartment. The snowstorm had passed, leaving a crisp, clear sky in its wake. Yet, the tension from the previous night lingered like a shadow. As Ethan brewed coffee in the kitchen, his phone buzzed on the counter. It was Emma. "Hey," she said as he picked up. "I just wanted to check in. Are you guys okay?" "We're fine," Ethan replied. "I just couldn't take Mom's behavior anymore." Emma sighed. "I get it." She crossed a line again. "But Ethan, there's something you need to know." I wasn't going to say anything, but after last night, I think it's time. Ethan frowned, his pulse quickening. "What is it?" "Mom's been hiding something," Emma said. "It's about a case Sophia might find familiar. You should come back over. Dad and I will explain everything." Ethan hesitated. After everything that had happened, the last thing he wanted was to step foot in that house again. But Emma's tone was serious, almost urgent. "All right," he said. "We'll come by later. But if Mom starts anything, she won't," Emma interrupted. "I'll make sure of it." Sophia was skeptical about returning, but Ethan convinced her. "If Emma says there's something we need to know, I think it's important. Besides, she and Dad are on our side." Reluctantly, Sophia agreed. A few hours later, they found themselves back at the Carter family home. Margaret was noticeably absent, and the atmosphere felt less hostile. Michael greeted them at the door. "I'm glad you came," he said, his voice sincere. "There's something we need to talk about." They gathered in the living room, where Emma had already spread out several old documents on the coffee table. "These are from a lawsuit Mom was involved in years ago," Emma explained. "She never talks about it, but I did some digging after noticing how she acted toward Sophia. I think this might explain a lot." Sophia leaned forward, scanning the papers. Her eyes widened as she recognized the names and details. "This is from a case my mentor worked on years ago," she said. "It involved racial discrimination at a country club." Michael nodded grimly. "Your mom and I used to be members there. She supported the management when they tried to exclude certain groups of people. It caused a lot of tension in our marriage." Ethan was stunned. Why didn't I know about this? Because she buried it, Michael said. She didn't want anyone to know. But it's clear that she's never truly moved past those beliefs. Sophia shook her head. Disbelief etched across her face. So, all of this hostility, it's because of a case from decades ago? It's deeper than that. Emma said, Mom's always been afraid of change. She clings to her old ways, and anyone who challenges that, well, you saw what happened last night. Ethan's jaw tightened. She's not just afraid of change. She's stuck in her prejudice, and it's hurting everyone around her. Sophia took a deep breath, her voice steady. I appreciate you telling us this, but it doesn't excuse her behavior. She needs to take responsibility for her actions. Michael nodded. You're absolutely right, and I'll do everything I can to make sure she does. Later that evening, Ethan and Sophia returned home, both weighed down by the revelations. It's no wonder your mom has been so hostile, Sophia said, sitting down on the couch, but knowing this doesn't make it any easier. I know, Ethan replied, but it gives us a place to start. If she's ever going to change, we need to confront her with the truth. Sophia hesitated. Do you really think she's capable of change? Ethan looked at her, his expression resolute. I don't know, but if she isn't, that's on her. What matters is that we don't let her drag us down with her. Sophia nodded, a small smile forming on her lips. You're stronger than you give yourself credit for, Ethan, and no matter what happens, we'll face it together. As they sat together, the weight of the past began to lift, replaced by a renewed sense of determination. The truth had been uncovered, but the journey toward healing was just beginning. Christmas morning arrived with a quiet stillness, the kind that seemed to hang in the air just before a storm. Ethan sat at the kitchen table, staring at his phone. On the screen was a message from his father. Your mother needs to hear the truth. Come over when you're ready. Sophia walked in, the steaming mug of coffee in her hand. She studied Ethan's tense expression and placed the mug in front of him. You're thinking about going back, aren't you? Ethan nodded. Dad and Emma are right. She needs to hear this. If we don't confront her now, nothing will ever change. Sophia hesitated, then sighed. Okay, but if she lashes out again, I'm not staying silent this time. Ethan smiled at her determination. I wouldn't expect anything less. When they arrived at the Carter family home, the atmosphere was different. Margaret opened the door herself, her usual cold demeanor replaced by a look of wary uncertainty. Christopher, Sophia, she greeted, her voice softer than usual. I wasn't sure you'd come. We need to talk. Mom, Ethan said firmly. All of us. Margaret stepped aside, her posture stiff. Very well. Let's sit in the living room. Michael and Emma were already waiting, their expressions a mix of apprehension and encouragement. Ethan and Sophia took their seats, the tension in the room almost palpable. Mom, Ethan began, his voice steady but firm. We know about the case, the one involving the country club. Margaret's face froze, her hands, resting on the armrests of her chair, clenched slightly. I don't know what you're talking about. You do, Sophia said calmly. It's the case where you supported policies that excluded people based on race. Policies that hurt families like mine. Margaret's eyes darted to Michael. Then back to Ethan. Why are we dredging this up now? That's ancient history. Because it's not ancient history to you, Ethan said. It's clear that you're still holding on to the same prejudices that fueled your actions back then. And it's hurting everyone around you. Margaret's jaw tightened. I was doing what I thought was right at the time. The club had standards. Standards? Sophia interrupted, her voice sharp. Do you hear yourself? Those standards were designed to keep people out simply because they were different. And instead of admitting you were wrong, you've carried that mindset into the way you treat me. Margaret stood abruptly, her face flushed. You don't know anything about me, about what I've been through. Then tell us, Ethan challenged, rising to his feet. Explain why you think it's okay to tear people down just because they don't fit into your idea of what's acceptable. Because from where I'm standing, all I see is someone who's afraid of change. Michael reached out a hand, his voice calm but firm. Margaret, you can't keep running from this. It's time to face the truth. For a moment, the room was silent. Margaret looked at each of them, her defenses crumbling under their unified gaze. Finally, she sank back into her chair, her shoulders slumping. You don't understand, she said quietly. Back then, everything was about appearances, about keeping up with expectations. I was young, and I thought I had to protect our family's reputation, no matter the cost. And what about now? Sophia asked. What's your excuse for how you've treated me? For the way you've alienated your own son? Margaret's lips trembled. I don't have an excuse. I've been holding on to something that no longer matters. I see that now. Ethan softened slightly but remained resolute. Mom, if you really want to be part of our lives, you need to let go of the past. You need to change. Not just for us, but for yourself. Margaret looked down at her hands, her eyes filling with tears. I don't know if I can. You can, Michael said gently. But it's going to take effort, and it starts with an apology. Margaret turned to Sophia, her voice barely above a whisper. I'm sorry for everything. I know I've hurt you, and I don't expect forgiveness, but I'll do whatever it takes to make things right. Sophia studied her for a moment, her expression unreadable. Finally, she nodded. Actions speak louder than words. Mrs. Carter, if you're serious, I'm willing to give you a chance, but it's going to take time. Margaret nodded, wiping her eyes. I understand, and thank you. As they left the house later that day, Ethan and Sophia walked hand in hand through the fresh snow. The air felt lighter, as if a weight had been lifted. Do you think she'll follow through? Sophia asked. I don't know, Ethan admitted. But at least we've started the conversation. That's more than I ever thought we'd get. Sophia smiled faintly. Well, if nothing else, we've made it clear that we won't accept anything less than respect. Ethan squeezed her hand. And that's enough for now. The snow crunched softly beneath their feet as they walked away, leaving behind a family shaken but hopeful for change. Christmas evening arrived, and the Carter household was buzzing with activity. The smell of roasted turkey and freshly baked pies wafted through the air, mingling with the faint sound of carols playing from the stereo. Margaret was in the kitchen, carefully arranging the table settings, her demeanor calmer but still reserved. Ethan and Sophia arrived together, hand in hand. This time, the air between them felt different, stronger, united. Michael greeted them warmly at the door, while Emma ran to hug Sophia. I'm glad you both came, Emma whispered, her voice full of relief. We're giving her a chance, Ethan said, his voice firm, but only if she's ready to prove she's changed. As they stepped into the dining room, Margaret appeared from the kitchen. She paused for a moment, taking in the sight of Ethan and Sophia together. For the first time, she managed a small, genuine smile. Dinner's ready. Please, sit. The meal began smoothly enough. Conversation was polite, and Margaret made an effort to engage Sophia, albeit awkwardly, but the unease was still palpable, like a storm cloud hovering just out of sight. As dessert was being served, Margaret cleared her throat. Sophia, she began hesitantly, I wanted to apologize again for the way I acted. I was wrong, and I'm trying to do better. Sophia looked at her, her expression calm but guarded. Thank you. I hope that's true. The room fell silent, the tension mounting. Then, Margaret's voice softened. There's something else. I realized recently that I've been holding on to anger and resentment for far too long. It's not just about the past. It's about me being afraid of losing my son. Ethan's fork clattered onto his plate. Mom, this was never about losing me. It's about respect for me, for Sophia, and for the life I've chosen. Margaret nodded, tears welling in her eyes. I know that now, and I'm sorry for how I've acted. But I also need you to understand how hard it's been for me to let go of everything I thought I knew. Sophia leaned forward, her voice steady. Change is hard. Mrs. Carter. But it's necessary. And it starts with accepting people for who they are, not who you think they should be. Margaret looked down at her hands, her voice barely a whisper. You're right, and I'm willing to try. Just as the tension seemed to ease, the doorbell rang. Michael frowned, getting up to answer it. Moments later, he returned, looking stunned. Behind him stood an impeccably dressed man in his mid-50s, his presence commanding and calm. Good evening, the man said, his deep voice resonating through the room. I hope I'm not interrupting. My name is Marcus Blake, Sophia's father. Sophia gasped, rising to her feet. Dad? What are you doing here? Marcus stepped forward, his gaze steady. I wanted to meet the family my daughter has been talking about, and I thought it was time for an honest conversation. Margaret's face turned pale. This is unexpected. Marcus smiled faintly, though his eyes were sharp. Mrs. Carter, we've met before, many years ago, at the country club where I worked as a waiter. Margaret's eyes widened. I don't remember. I do, Marcus said firmly. You spilled a drink on me and didn't bother to apologize. But I remember more than that. I remember the way you looked at me like I didn't belong. The room fell silent, the weight of Marcus's words pressing down on everyone. Margaret looked away, her hands trembling. Over the years, I've dealt with people like you, Marcus continued, his tone unwavering, but I never expected to face this again when it came to my daughter. Sophia stepped closer to her father, her voice soft. Dad, it's okay. No, it's not, Marcus said, his gaze fixed on Margaret. But it can be. If you're willing to change, Margaret looked up at him, tears streaming down her face. I'm sorry, she said, her voice breaking. For everything. I don't expect forgiveness, but I want to make it right. Marcus nodded slowly. Words are a start, but actions will show whether you mean it. The rest of the evening passed with a fragile sense of hope. Margaret remained quiet but visibly humbled, while Marcus shared stories of his life and work, offering wisdom and perspective that left everyone thoughtful. As Ethan and Sophia prepared to leave, Margaret approached them. Thank you for coming. And for giving me another chance. I won't waste it. Ethan nodded, his voice soft. We'll see. Mom, it's up to you. As they stepped into the crisp night air, Sophia turned to Ethan. Do you think this is the start of something better? Ethan smiled faintly. Maybe, but no matter what happens, we'll face it together. The Carter family's house was eerily quiet after Ethan and Sophia left. Margaret sat in her favorite armchair by the fireplace, the flickering flames casting long shadows across her face. She stared at the empty space where Marcus had stood just hours earlier, his words still ringing in her ears. Michael approached, a steaming mug of tea in his hands. He set it on the table beside her and sat across from her. You've had a lot to think about tonight. Margaret nodded slowly, her hands clasped tightly in her lap. I don't know how to fix this, Michael. I've spent so many years building walls, convincing myself I was protecting our family, when all I did was push people away. Michael leaned forward, his expression kind but firm. Margaret, change isn't about fixing everything overnight. It's about taking small, meaningful steps. You took the first one tonight by listening and by apologizing. Margaret looked at him, her eyes glassy. But will it ever be enough? For Ethan? For Sophia? That depends on you, Michael said gently. But I know our son. He wants to forgive you. He wants you to be part of his life. But you have to show him that you're willing to change. Meanwhile, Ethan and Sophia were back at their apartment, decompressing after the emotionally charged evening. Sophia curled up on the couch with a blanket, staring out the window at the city lights. Ethan sat beside her, his arm draped around her shoulders. Well, Ethan said, breaking the silence. That was something. Sophia let out a soft laugh. That's one way to put it. Ethan turned to her, his expression serious. What did you think about my mom tonight? Do you believe her? Sophia paused, choosing her words carefully. I think she's beginning to understand the weight of her actions. But understanding and changing are two different things. It's going to take time and a lot of effort on her part. Ethan nodded. I just hope she doesn't let this chance slip away. Because if she does, I don't think I can keep trying. Sophia reached for his hand, squeezing it gently. You're doing your part, Ethan. The rest is up to her. The next morning, Margaret called Emma into the kitchen, where she was already preparing breakfast. The aroma of coffee and freshly baked muffins filled the air, but Margaret's expression was somber. Emma, she began, her voice tentative. Do you think I made a complete fool of myself last night? Emma smiled wryly as she took a seat at the counter. Honestly, you've had worse moments. But, Mom, I think you made progress. You owned up to some things you've been avoiding for years. That's a start. Margaret sighed, setting down her whisk. I don't want to lose my son or my family. Emma reached across the counter to take her mother's hand. Then don't. Keep trying. Show Ethan and Sophia that you're serious. It's not too late. Over the following weeks, Margaret began to take small but significant steps toward change. She attended workshops on cultural sensitivity at the encouragement of Michael and Emma. She also began volunteering at a local community center, where she met people from diverse backgrounds and listened to their stories. At first, the work was uncomfortable and humbling, but it also opened Margaret's eyes to perspectives she had long ignored. Slowly, she began to realize the depth of the impact her actions and inactions had on others. Ethan and Sophia watched these changes from a cautious distance. Michael kept them updated on Margaret's efforts, and Emma occasionally shared videos of her mother at the community center, laughing and working alongside people she once might have judged unfairly. One evening, Margaret called Ethan. Her voice was steady but tinged with vulnerability. Ethan, she said, I know I have no right to ask for anything, but I'd like to invite you and Sophia to dinner next weekend. No expectations, just dinner. I want to start rebuilding what I've broken. Ethan hesitated, his heart pulling in two directions. I'll talk to Sophia about it, he said finally. We'll let you know. Thank you, Margaret said softly. That's all I can ask. The following weekend, Ethan and Sophia arrived at the Carter house once more. This time, the atmosphere was markedly different. Margaret greeted them at the door with a nervous but genuine smile. She hugged Ethan, then turned to Sophia. I'm so glad you're here, she said earnestly. Both of you. Sophia nodded, her expression calm but cautious. Thank you for inviting us. My dinner was a simple affair. No grand displays or overly elaborate dishes. Margaret made an effort to include everyone in the conversation, asking Sophia about her work and genuinely listening to her responses. Toward the end of the evening, Margaret cleared her throat. Sophia, there's something I want to say. Sophia set down her fork, her eyes meeting Margaret's. I'm listening. Margaret took a deep breath. I know I have a lot to make up for, but I want you to know that I see the kind of person you are, strong, intelligent, and compassionate, and I want to do better, not just for Ethan, but because you've shown me what it means to truly stand for something. Sophia studied her for a moment, then nodded. Actions speak louder than words. Mrs. Carter, but I appreciate you saying that. Margaret smiled, a flicker of hope in her eyes. Then I'll keep showing you. As Ethan and Sophia left that night, Ethan turned to her with a small smile. So, what do you think? Sophia glanced back at the house, where the warm light of the living room glowed through the windows. I think maybe she's starting to get it. Ethan wrapped an arm around her shoulders, pulling her close as they walked into the snowy night. That's all I could hope for. The days following the dinner were marked by a cautious optimism. Ethan and Sophia couldn't ignore Margaret's efforts, but both were careful not to let their guard down completely. Years of tension wouldn't dissolve overnight, but for the first time, the possibility of a healthier relationship felt within reach. Back in their Chicago apartment, Sophia sat at her desk, typing an email. As she stared at the screen, Her thoughts drifted back to Margaret's words at dinner. Margaret's apology had been sincere, but Sophia couldn't help but feel wary. She'd encountered people before who made promises, but fell back into old patterns. Could Margaret really change? Lost in thought, Ethan's voice broke through her reverie as he leaned against the doorway. "Just thinking," she admitted, turning her chair to face him. "Your mom surprised me at dinner. I didn't expect her to say the things she did." Ethan nodded, sitting on the edge of the desk. "Neither did I. She's been stubborn my whole life. But this feels different," Sophia sighed. "It's one thing to apologize. It's another to follow through. I want to believe her, Ethan, but I need more time. You're not alone in that," Ethan said softly. "I'm cautious too, but I think she's trying, and if she keeps trying, maybe we can start to heal." Sophia smiled faintly. "Let's hope so." Meanwhile, back in Evergreen, Margaret was throwing herself into her commitment to change. Every Tuesday, she volunteered at the community center, working alongside people she would have once dismissed without a second thought. At first, it was uncomfortable. Conversations felt awkward, and Margaret realized just how little she understood about the lives of others. But over time, she began to listen more and judge less. One day, while painting a mural with a group of volunteers, a woman named Denise struck up a conversation. "You've been coming here regularly?" Denise said, dipping her brush into a bright blue paint. "What brought you here?" Margaret hesitated, then decided on honesty. "I realized I've been wrong about a lot of things. My son and his girlfriend helped me see that. Now, I'm trying to do better." Denise smiled. "It's never too late to change. But it's not just about showing up. It's about really opening your heart." Margaret nodded, her brush moving across the wall. "I'm learning that." Emma, ever the peacekeeper, was Margaret's biggest cheerleader. She encouraged her mother to keep going, even on days when doubt crept in. "You're doing well, Mom," Emma said one afternoon as they sorted donated clothes at the center. "I know it's not easy, but you're making progress." Margaret looked at her daughter, gratitude shining in her eyes. "Thank you, Emma. I don't think I could do this without you and your father." Emma smirked. "Don't forget Ethan and Sophia. They're the reason you're doing this in the first place." Margaret's smile faltered slightly. "I just hope they can see that I'm serious about changing." "They will," Emma said confidently. "Just keep showing them." A few weeks later, Ethan received a call from Michael. "Your mom's been working hard." "Son," Michael said. "She wants to invite you and Sophia over again. A small family dinner this time, no drama." "I promise." Ethan relayed the invitation to Sophia. They debated for a while, weighing the risks and rewards of another visit. Finally, Sophia nodded. "Let's go." If she's still making an effort, it's worth giving her another chance. When they arrived, the atmosphere was vastly different from the tension-filled gatherings of the past. Margaret greeted them at the door, her demeanor warm and genuine. "Ethan, Sophia," she said with a smile. "I'm so glad you came." Dinner was simple, but filled with laughter and thoughtful conversation. Margaret asked Sophia questions about her work, not to challenge her, but to learn. Sophia answered cautiously at first, but as the evening went on, she began to relax. At one point, Margaret stood to refill the drinks, but she hesitated and turned to Sophia. "Would you like to help me in the kitchen? I'd love to talk one-on-one." Sophia glanced at Ethan, who gave her a reassuring nod. "Sure," she said, standing to follow Margaret. In the kitchen, Margaret poured water into glasses, her movements deliberate. "Sophia," she began, her voice quiet, "I want to thank you for giving me another chance. I know I don't deserve it, but it means a lot to me." Sophia leaned against the counter. Studying her, it's not just about giving you a chance. It's about seeing if you'll keep earning it. You've hurt Ethan in ways he doesn't even talk about. I need to know you won't go back to that." Margaret nodded, her face solemn. "I understand, and I promise you, I'm doing everything I can to be better, for him, for you, and for myself." Sophia searched Margaret's eyes for any sign of insincerity but found none. "Then I'll keep showing up too," Sophia said finally. Margaret smiled, relief washing over her. "Thank you. That's all I can ask." As Ethan and Sophia left that night, Ethan turned to his mother and hugged her tightly. "You're doing good, Mom. Keep it up." Margaret's voice was thick with emotion. "Thank you, son. I'll make sure you're proud of me." In the car, Ethan looked at Sophia. "So, what do you think?" Sophia smiled softly. "I think this was a step forward. She's not perfect, but she's trying." Ethan reached for her hand, his heart lighter than it had been in months. That's all I needed to hear. As they drove away, the glow of the Carter house faded into the distance, but the hope of a brighter future lingered with them, stronger than ever. Weeks turned into months, and the Carter family found themselves on a path they had never imagined. Margaret's journey to change wasn't smooth. It was filled with moments of doubt, awkward conversations, and the occasional misstep. But for the first time in years, she was truly trying. Ethan and Sophia visited more frequently, their once tense encounters with Margaret now replaced by moments of cautious connection. Conversations grew deeper, laughter more frequent, and slowly, trust began to rebuild. One weekend, Margaret invited everyone to a small retreat at a cozy mountain cabin. It was an idea Michael and Emma had suggested, a chance to reset and reconnect in a neutral space. The first night around the fireplace, Margaret addressed the family, her voice steady but emotional. "I've been reflecting a lot these past few months," she began. "Not just on how I've treated Ethan and Sophia, but on how I've lived my life. I see now how fear and stubbornness blinded me. I held on to old ideas that hurt people, including my own family." She turned to Sophia, her expression sincere. "Sophia, you showed me what strength and grace look like. You stood your ground when I made it so hard for you. And for that, I owe you more than just an apology. I owe you my respect." Sophia nodded, her voice soft but firm. "Thank you, Margaret. It hasn't been easy, but I see the effort you're making. That means a lot to me and to Ethan." Margaret smiled, her eyes welling with tears. "I'll keep earning that trust. I promise." On the last evening of the retreat, Ethan and Sophia shared big news with the family. As they gathered for dinner, Ethan stood, holding Sophia's hand. "We wanted to share something with you all. A few weeks ago, I asked Sophia to marry me, and she said yes." The room erupted into cheers and applause. Emma jumped up to hug them both, while Michael clapped Ethan on the back with a proud smile. Margaret sat quietly for a moment, her emotions catching up with her. Then she stood and embraced Sophia. "I'm so happy for you," Margaret said, her voice trembling. "You're going to be an incredible part of this family." Sophia smiled, holding Margaret's gaze. "Thank you, and I hope we can keep building on what we've started." Margaret nodded, her expression one of quiet determination. "We will." As the months passed, the Carter family grew closer than they had been in years. Margaret continued her work at the community center, even organizing fundraisers for causes Sophia cared deeply about. Ethan and Sophia began planning their wedding, with Emma happily taking charge of many of the details. For Ethan, watching his family transform was a reminder that change, though difficult, was possible. For Sophia, it was proof that standing firm in her values could inspire others to do the same. On Christmas Eve, 1 year after the explosive dinner that had nearly torn them apart, the Carter family gathered again, this time in harmony. As the snow fell softly outside, they shared stories, laughter, and hope for the future. Margaret looked around the room, her heart full. She saw not just her family, but a testament to resilience, forgiveness, and love. As Ethan and Sophia prepared to leave that night, Margaret pulled Ethan aside. "I'm proud of you," she said softly, "for standing up to me when it was hard, and for showing me what it means to grow." Ethan smiled, his eyes glistening. "I'm proud of you too. Mom, you've come so far." This story reminds us that change is never easy, but it's always possible. Margaret's journey shows us that admitting our faults is the first step toward growth. Ethan and Sophia's resilience proves that love and understanding can overcome even the deepest divides. Then, the narrator poses a thought-provoking question. What would you do if someone in your life showed they were ready to change? Would you give them a second chance? Or would the past be too hard to forgive? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Do you think Margaret's change was genuine? Could you forgive someone like her? Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Heat Stories for more powerful tales of transformation and resilience. And tell us, where are you watching from today?